Hi, Trish here. I thought today we could try a quick practice of just 11 poses to help build bone density. This practice is taken straight out of Dr. Loren Fishman's book, Yoga for Osteoporosis, Chapter 9. We are going to be just holding the poses about 15 seconds. He says that bone starts building after 10. And a lot of times I teach that we hold about 30 seconds, but for this practice, we're just gonna hold for 15. For me, that's about 3 deep breaths. So let's go ahead and get started by standing up. We're gonna stand up nice and tall on our mat, swing our hips a little bit. Feel free to take the arms up, stretch a little side to side. Maybe move the arms and the elbows, take a few marching steps, maybe some cross body. We just want to slightly warm up before we begin the practice. I'm going to come up and down onto my balls of my feet and down onto my heels a few times. And I'll just take the blanket off to the side for later. We are going to use a blanket, a strap, and a block for this practice. Let's go. We begin with chair pose. Beginning to bend the knees coming forward right over the second or third toe. The spine on an angle, and the arms could go straight forward, out wide like a bird, or up in the air, and we're just going to take 3 deep breaths. Exiting the pose with an exhale, coming down, swinging the hips as we slowly take the feet wider and wider apart. All of these poses, we're going to be squeezing the muscles to the bones, feeling that stressing, which helps the bones to grow, and we're going to be strengthening our muscles. We're moving into triangle pose, turning one foot out to the side, heel in line with the back arch. Start to bend the knee and lean sideways, maybe bringing the forearm to the thigh, hand to the hip, and then straightening out the leg, keeping the torso on a diagonal, and add the arms. And 3 more breaths. Squeeze the muscles to the bones, especially draw the low belly in. Really strengthening the core and the pelvis here. Exiting the pose on the exhale, re-bend the knee, bend it a little bit, turn those toes forward, and gently turn the other toes out. Moving slowly to the other side. Little bend in the knee to help us lean sideways. We want this shoulder stacked over the bottom shoulder. Maybe starting to straighten the leg and add the arms and breathe. Bending the knee as you exhale and come up. Heel, toe, the feet together. Back to our mountain pose as we get ready for tree pose. And you can use a wall or a chair nearby. I always want to have something that I have close to me to support me in this standing balance. Take a deep breath, nice and tall. And then leaning into one leg, the other knee comes forward and we open the leg, knee wide, maybe walk the foot to the inner ankle or up to the calf. Sometimes we can hold the leg here on the inner thigh. I'm going to hold mine at the calf and simply breathe, adding the arms as you feel ready, reaching up, or keeping your hands at your heart, pressing down through the foot, lifting up through the head, drawing into the belly. Just one more breath here. And the arms float down as we step out of the pose on the exhale. Setting up for the other side. Make sure you have something nearby to hold on to. Opening the knee, lifting the heart, maybe bringing that foot to the inner thigh. My leg stays in on this side. Also want to remind you that balances are never about being completely steady. So as you find your pose, doesn't look like it's going to happen for me this time, I'm going to just bring the sole of the foot to the inside of the calf on this side too, and reach up, finding that spot on the floor that doesn't move. Balance is about falling and catching ourselves and simply coming back. It's never about being completely still. Coming down when you're ready. Walking those knees out. We're going to slowly come down toward the mat. I'm gonna move toward table and then a down dog pose. So I'm walking to the back of my mat, starting to bend my knees in a supported forward fold. The back is long and flat. As we reach for the floor, bring the knees down to the ground. Step the hands wide, just slightly wider than the hips, about as wide as the shoulders. Curl the toes under, lift the hips, and stretch into your down dog. Gently rolling the inner arms upward, pulling the belly in, little tiny bend in the knees as you breathe. Gently settling back to table pose and starting to walk our knees back and elbows forward, coming to Sphinx pose. We're going to set up for our cobra. We want to walk each leg back one by one, making the spine longer, and then dragging the hands down beside the chest. Fingers pointing forward, bring the forehead to the floor, and as you exhale, slowly curl up. Feel the strength in the thighs squeezing, the toes pointing, the shoulders rolling back, neck is long for 2 more breaths. And we slowly relax. If you'd like to go a little higher, I think I'm going to do this pose one more time. There's 2 other options here. I'm just rocking my hips a little side to side. I'm going to slowly press up a little higher. Maybe even go all the way into up dog, curling the toes under, the pelvis is lifted, everything's engaged. This pose is great for the wrists, but not if it's hurting. So go ahead and relax and lower slowly down. We're gonna make our way gently back to table pose. Maybe bring the elbows back to the mat as you crawl them in and push the hips up. You could take an extended child's pose. We want to keep the spine long here, no rounding. And breathe. Walking through with the knees, I'm going to have something to sit on as I look around for my strap. We're moving into our seated poses. I'm going to start by wrapping the strap around both feet as I stretch them out in front of me. Nice and long in the spine, roll those shoulders back. Taking the strap, both ends of the strap in my right hand, I'm going to bend my left knee, take the foot out of the strap, and pull the foot to the inner leg. Good. Nice and tall. And I'm going to stay right here. This is an isometric pose. I'm drawing the elbows back, rolling my shoulder blades together, lifting the crown and the heart toward the sky, pushing out through the heel, pressing the back of the leg into the ground for 1 more breath. Nice. Gently releasing the strap as I stretch this leg back out and bend the other knee in, bringing the sole of the foot to the inside of the leg. Sit bones press downward, spine lifts upward, and the foot presses outward as we pull into the strap and breathe. And gently bringing both feet back into the strap. This is staff pose, but fully engaged. The legs are long. I just want to let you see how deeply bent my back is, which is not much. It's flat. If my hamstrings want me to, sometimes I'll lean into this a little bit, drawing the elbows back, squeezing those shoulder blades, pressing the back of the legs into the floor, isometrically squeezing the bones, causing them to build what strength I need them to have, and then gently releasing and relaxing. Good. We're going to move into our twist. I do like to be sitting up on something, so I'm going to go back to my blanket here. I'm going to stay turned sideways for just a minute. Legs stretched out. I recommend sitting on that blanket to help the pelvis get that nice little tip forward. We don't ever want to round the spine. That's the best thing we can do to help prevent any kind of fractures of osteoporosis. I'm going to draw one knee in and up, and I'm going to slightly lean back. I'm going to take the opposite hand across to this knee that's bent and this other arm behind me, and I'm leaning back slightly as I draw the knee inward, lift my heart upward, long neck and breath. Inhale and then release on the exhale. Coming forward, the leg goes out long again. The other knee bends up. Leaning slightly back, I take the opposite hand across to the bent knee, and the other hand comes behind, and we breathe. Feel that pressure in the pelvis, in the low back. So good for building bone. Coming out on the exhale, I'm just going to scoop myself slightly forward. Take the blanket off for this next pose and take the block with me. I'm going to slowly lay back. Now I want to make sure I'm not rolling down on my low back. So I like to take my elbows back behind me, my spine stays long, knees are bent, as I slowly lay my back flat down almost as one piece. Good. Let's just rock the knees for a minute. My block is ready. Eventually I'm going to slide the block nice and thin between my legs like a book. All right, this is going to be our core work here. I'm going to take my arms out really wide with the palms up. I'm going to move that blanket out of the way. I'm going to use the backs of my arms and my shoulders to help stabilize my torso here as I gently bring the knees in toward the belly. Rock a little bit just to feel the weight distributing. Good. The feet stay low at first. This is the safest position for osteoporosis. And we'll just take a deep breath in the middle. Exhale as we rock to one side, maybe almost to the floor, maybe just halfway. Depends on your strength and your desire here. Coming back, take an inhale, and then exhale to the other side, letting it rock. Good. And now keep doing this level for as long as you like, just like 3 times to each side, or lift the legs a little higher, adding weight as we drop the legs on the exhale. Not all the way to the floor. Use the back of your body, press it into the ground to stay stabilized and help build that upper body strength. Keep exhaling as you rock to the edge and come on back. Now, if you want to, just keep doing it at that level, or you can go all the way to the hardest level of all, which is flat feet, long legs, legs zipped up together, no more block in between. Exhale as the legs rock over to one side. Don't go too far. And come on back on the inhale. Exhale to the other side. And back up to center. Good. Knee bent. Feet back to the floor. Take a little break. Let your low back soften and rest. We just have one more pose here. We have our bridge pose. And I'm going to do the prevention level pose today. We always have 3 levels of poses. Those of us with osteoporosis, we do a little simpler version because it's safer. And then those of us with osteopenia might do a little bit more difficult. And then the prevention level is those of us who don't have any bone issues at all, but we want to keep them strong and prevent getting osteoporosis. So for this one, I'm just going to plant my feet where they feel comfortable, about hips width apart. Hips, knees, and ankles stay in line with each other. My arms come down by the sides. Tuck those shoulder blades in, face looking up toward the sky. Lift the hips. And I'm going to link my fingers together, palms facing up toward my shoulders as I walk the shoulder blades under a little bit more. And I can feel the pull in the wrists here. We're building wrist strength. And 3 deep breaths. Don't squeeze your glutes too hard. Let them go a little bit so that the legs feel, there we go, legs feel a little more work. Soft in the neck and throat and the shoulders. One more breath. Into the belly. And release the arms. Come on down. Flatten the back and rock those knees. There is one more pose that Loren Fishman recommends in his 12 poses to build bone from his book, The Yoga for Osteoporosis. And that is wheel pose. And that is not in my practice, and I highly recommend that you find someone who is good at practicing wheel pose to feel strong and safe in that pose. It's a simple back bend where we lift the hips up off the floor, come up onto the top crown of our head. It's a really big pose, and it's not safe to do that without some help, so I'm just going to let that one go. And the last one that we're going to practice is Shavasana. And that might mean your knees knocked together, your feet wider apart. Maybe your legs are going up the wall, or maybe they're nice and stretched out as we just take about 20 to 30 deep breaths. We want to rest for at least a minute, maybe more like 5 or 6. We're just going to breathe here. Taking another deep breath or two. Start to wiggle your feet and your hands. Feel free to stay a little longer if you're ready to just stay and rest. Shavasana is always included in our osteoporosis practice because it's the time when the bones are allowed to start to build again. We're stressing them and resting them. And without the resting, there's no building. So please give yourself the time that you need. As you feel ready, maybe you're now rocking your knees a little or pulling them into your chest. In order to keep that low back safe, if you have osteoporosis, to prevent fractures, you're not going to pull your knees all the way in. You might just bring them a little closer, maybe let them stay straight up, just flattening that low back and softening it a little. If you don't have to worry about any fracturing, you can pull those knees in, lift the tailbone and squeeze a little bit. And then we'll roll on over to one side and pause for a little moment of gratitude, our hand on our heart, just thinking of something really good. And then all the way to seated. And that's our practice for building our bones. I guarantee if you do that every day, your bones will get stronger. And I wish you all happy, healthy bones. Namaste.